to talk about In Transit. I watched it earlier today and really enjoyed it. Something really different as well, which is awesome to see. So congratulations to both of you. And I'll just start with the kind of central theme of what I picked up on with the film, which is this unique portrayal of femininity and of women. And the relationship at its center kind of evokes this complex, layered portrayal. And there's very powerful themes and dynamics at play. So just a question for both of you. How did you kind of navigate that concept of femininity and evoke it so interestingly on screen?
Well, I can start and then Alex can dive in. I think a lot of it was inherently written in the script. And Alex also appearing in the film as Lucy had a personal connection and like she complexity with the story already that I think she brought beautifully. And to me, one reason why I was attracted to the film is it did show these two different women of different ages and backgrounds sort of brought together by chance, really, and what they brought out in each other. So creating like a foil, but also sort of a unique sort of common theme with Ilse and what that meant to Lucy is something that I think, even though we're following Lucy throughout the film, we're seeing sort of a little bit of Ilse and trying to understand her as well. And that I think comes from just being a woman. And you can speak a little bit to this, Alex, but being a woman who is trying to understand two parts of herself, which I definitely related to. And I think you have one young woman who's happy with her life and seemingly happy with her life and has a loving boyfriend, a job, and has a community. And then another woman who is what we might say artistically successful, but who is searching. And I think they see these things they admire, maybe want from each other in each other's lives, and that's one of the reasons too why they're brought together. But Alex, you can talk a little bit too about your personal connection to the story, and a lot of it too was building the chemistry between Jennifer and Alex's Ilse and Lucy, which was interesting because Alex actually is like a young fresh emerging actor, and Jennifer is very established and sort of pristine, and so naturally that dynamic was there on screen, and so it was just figuring out how to capture it and let it sort of grow with the story.
Yeah, that's beautifully said, Jacqueline. I feel like a lot of this story for me was sort of my own existential crisis of feeling torn between the side of me that's like ambitious and that wants to make art that matters and have be seen in this way, and the part of me that's like, well, I also want to be content in my life, and like, Lucy has these things, her stable boyfriend, her job she loves, her community she loves, and is at peace with where her life is. So it's kind of putting these different sides of oneself at war with each other and also drawn to each other in this way. And I think to me an important thing, I mean, you mentioned like femininity, this is a women's story, and I think a lot of the time when you see like an existential battle on screen, it's a man that's going through a journey of what life means and what it's all about. And I think to me it was important to have women that are coping with these things. As opposed to being the side character to a man's self-discovery story.
That's a wonderful insight. And another thing I notice about the film that it does so well is it captures the stillness of things. So when Ilsa and Lucy enter each other's worlds, it's as though they're sort of unaware of the changes around them and how circumstances are developing around them because they're so sort of consumed by each other, I suppose. So, Jaclyn, for yourself, how do you kind of craft that kind of stillness when you're filming? And Alex, for you, how do you compose that in a script and then bring it to life on screen?
Alex, do you want to answer that first, and then I can talk about sort of the cinematography and stuff, but
Yeah,
it was
sure.
inherently in the script.
Sure, happily. I think in the writing process, a lot of things are unsaid in this movie, and you're watching people figure things out for themselves and feel things and be impacted by things. But it was important to me not to sort of spell everything out for the audience, not to have those moments where it's like, this is how I'm feeling and this is what I'm going to do about it, because that's not often how it goes in life. A lot of these existential journeys are internal. So I think it starts with that, and that made for a lot of stillness when we actually got to set. And then on set as well, I think for me as an actor, it's a lot about finding the emotional truth of it in myself, but then sort of holding back and not letting it all out, which Jaclyn is wonderful at directing on set, how much can we keep inside, but it still has to be alive inside for it to be visible, you know? Yeah.
I think for me, I I love quiet films and I love stories that don't try to tell you how to feel or what to think. And I find myself also attracted to themes that are about an artist's journey. And as artists, we are alone. We feel very alone a lot of the time. And I think when crafting this, how we were going to approach this material, one of the things that stuck out to me was these different worlds and how we could sort of capture that with the through line, but also make them distinct. And it takes place in rural America. It's a small town, so inherently there's a quietness and sort of a routine built in. And I think that is also something that Ilse, who comes from a bigger life and a bigger city, is seeking. So I think it was important to not show, I don't want to spoil the movie, but to not show that side of the world until the very end, because I think we had created, Sam, the cinematographer, and I created this visual language that was sort of centered around very specific framing and sort of feeling like you were watching a piece of art come to life, especially when we're at the studio and a little bit at the bar too, because that is how Ilse sees Lucy. And so inherently with art modeling, you can't move, you can't really speak. It's such a big theme in the story. And I think also with Lucy and Tom's relationship, on the surface they're happy, but there is so much that is unsaid that comes out also as the story goes on. And I think that a lot of it's very human to be comfortable and afraid of confrontation, because like, what does change mean? And I think in the sort of crafting of the world, we were looking at how these spaces inform each other. And we really focused on the through line of the main three characters. And in the script, there was a little bit more of backstory of the bar patrons and some additional scenes with the main characters. But I think we sort of just, because it seemed to me that the strength in the film was the performances and the story and these characters' internal journeys, that it sort of lend itself to this beautiful stillness.
That's a wonderful segues into my next question, actually, because I really did want to talk about the cinematography as well. And in spirit of kind of that sense of ambiguity of not giving the audience everything, I noticed an array of long and wide shots that really detach us from these characters. And even in pivotal moments, we're not necessarily right there with them. So Alex, for yourself being on screen, is it difficult to kind of convey the right level of emotion and evoke in your audience what you want to, even though you're positioned further away from them?
That's a good question. It's funny, I almost feel like it's the opposite a little bit, where when you're in a wide shot and a long shot, you're getting to do these big chunks of scenes, like 10 minutes long without cutting. And so it allows you to feel, I mean, it's almost like you're doing a play in that moment where you're just lost in the scene and kind of forget about the camera altogether. because you're getting to do more than like two lines of dialogue in a close up and then we cut and now we got to move somewhere else. You know, you're getting to really live through longer chunks of it. And yeah, those are some of my favorite scenes in the film.
Awesome. And Jaclyn, for yourself, the two main characters of this story, their relationship is perhaps one of the least conventional things that you could expect in a story of this nature. So I wanted to ask you as a director, how do you go about kind of building that trust between your cast to tackle that kind of intensity and bring those unique dynamics to life?
That's a good question. I mean, I think it was sort of built with the script and the casting and sort of having Alex and Jennifer and sort of these actual real life sort of experiences that reflect their characters in a way. So that to me was a real gift. And I think we started shooting the bar scene for, so it actually kind of went in order in that way. So all of the bar bits where they're sort of a little bit more closed off and public and getting to know each other were first, and then the latter half of the shoot was in the studio where they had already, you know, worked together and for a little bit, and also I think having that sort of relationship where you see Alex as Lucy more comfortable in her space in the bar and then at home per se, and then Ilse more comfortable in her space at the studio, and sort of how that affected each actor and character, I think was just a really natural um, through line. And there was what I think is unique about this, and I don't know that this was super intentional when we began, but it became clear to me and Sam, the cinematographer, as we went on, that we had created this really interesting visual language where it was an unexpected sort of, you were watching things voyeuristically that you might in other stories, or if there was another director, I don't know, you would see very intensely and close up. But I think that wasn't how Alex wrote the script. That wasn't how I saw it. I didn't see it as like an intense, we're gonna like show and feel everything that these characters are going through. And so I didn't force any kind of um feeling, or this is how we're gonna shoot this, and you need to be like ready to go, and that sort of like intensity. It was, to me, it was, I think the beauty of these oneers and these wides is that you're literally seeing it play out in real time. And I think establishing that sort of feeling from the get-go when we enter Ilse's studio with Lucy for the first time really sets up that distance between them, but also what will become an intimacy between them as well, which, just seeing how their bodies interact in that space is really interesting.
Yeah.
And wasn't necessarily, I think it could have been the physicality between them could have been captured many different ways, but I think the way we did it was unique and unexpected.
I think it was definitely unique and probably the best way to have done it. And I just wanted to kind of finish our conversation of, if I can squeeze one more question, with the film's premiere in a few days' time. It's going to be at the Edinburgh International Film Festival, which I think is a really prestigious place for it to be. So just for both of you, what does it kind of mean to you to have the film debut at the festival and have the world see it in that kind of celebratory way?
I mean, I think, anytime you make cinema or make a project, you have no idea if it's ever gonna live or come out. It's like, it's a huge risk. I think this project in particular was it's not easy, to get it to this place, and we're very lucky that we had, an incredible team that worked with us to get us to the premiere. And I have some history working in the UK and living in the UK, so I knew the reputation and prestige of the festival, and I love that it celebrates world cinema and new voices. And I think that this has it's an American made film, but has a very European feel and perspective as well. So I think that we're sort of blending those um, two perspectives and worlds, and that it also Edinburgh seems to be a huge proponent of female filmmakers, and I know we are thrilled to be in the company of the other films in the competition as well.
Yeah, same here. I'm so excited. I've never been to Edinburgh before, so I'm really excited to visit. And it's amazing that, not only is the film festival going on, but Fringe is going on, book festival is going on. It just seems like such a vibrant art scene. And it's just really exciting to get to premiere in this place where people are coming to see art from all over the world in all these different ways. Yeah.
That's wonderful, guys. Congratulations again, and thank you so much for being so generous with your time and shedding us some new insight on this amazing film as well. So congratulations to you both. I look forward to the premiere, and hopefully we can speak again soon on where you guys go next as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Have a great
Thank
day.
you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.